In this unit, we examine a small painted symbol that rides on the side of nearly every large ship afloat, one you have almost certainly seen and never once decoded. Sailors once lived and died by whether it was read correctly, and it exists because one furious man refused to let the matter drop. Picture the hull of a great cargo ship, down low near the waterline. Painted onto the steel is a circle about a foot across, cut clean in two by a single horizontal line. A short distance to one side stands a strange little column of letters, stacked like the rungs of a ladder. Most people who notice it assume it is a badge, a shipping company's logo, a decoration. It is none of those things. That circle is a law, that line is a limit, and that ladder of letters is a table that tells the crew exactly how deep this ship is allowed to sit in the water, today, in these waters, in this season. So hold on to two questions because the whole unit turns on them. What does the mark actually mean, and why on earth are there so many different lines? Part 1. The mark on the hull. The ring is painted amidships, on both sides of the hull, in a colour chosen to stand out against the steel, and its purpose is disarmingly simple. When the ship is loaded and floating, you look at where the water meets the hull. If the sea rests at or below that line, she is safely loaded. But if the cargo is so heavy that the water climbs above the line, the ship is overloaded, and by law she may not sail. That is the whole idea in a single glance, a limit you can read from a passing boat, from a dockside, from a courtroom. But it did not always exist, and the world before it was far more dangerous than you might imagine. Part 2. The Coffin ships. In the Britain of the 1870s, the merchant sea was booming and quietly deadly. A ship could be insured for more than she was actually worth. And an old, rotten, worn-out vessel was, to a certain kind of owner, worth more sunk than sailed. You can see where this leads. A dishonest owner could take a decrepit ship, load her far past any sensible limit, insure her heavily, and send her out into the winter Atlantic, knowing that if she went down with every hand aboard, the loss would simply be paid in full. The sailors had a plain and terrible name for these vessels, coffin ships, and here is the cruelty at the heart of it. A seaman who judged his ship unfit and refused to sail could be thrown in jail for desertion. The law protected the owner's cargo, it did not protect the sailor's life. Enter a man named Samuel Plimsoll, a coal merchant and later a member of Parliament. Not a sailor himself, but utterly possessed by the injustice of the thing. In 1872, he published a book called Our Seaman, laying the whole scandal out in furious, unignorable detail. He named the practice, he counted the drowned, and he carried the fight onto the floor of Parliament again and again, with an anger so raw that he was once said to have shaken his fist at the House itself. He was mocked as too emotional, too obsessed, but he was right, and he refused to stop. Part 3. Freeboard, the hidden idea. To understand why a single painted line could save a crew, we have to understand the quiet piece of physics sitting underneath it. A ship floats because her hull pushes aside a great weight of water, and the water pushes back with equal force. Load cargo into her and she settles lower. But every ship must keep a margin. The height of hull left standing above the water, from the waterline up to the deck, has a name. Freeboard, and that freeboard is not wasted space. It is reserve buoyancy, the ship's savings account held against a bad day at sea, because the sea is never flat. A wave lifts the hull and drops it. Water sweeps the deck. The ship rolls. As long as enough hull stands above the surface, she rises to meet each wave and sheds the water away. But load her too deep, and that margin vanishes. Now a wave she would once have ridden clean over instead pours aboard and stays. A little too much weight does not make a vessel a little less safe. Past a certain point, it quietly removes the entire margin that lets her survive an ordinary sea. The line is the edge of that margin, drawn in paint. Part 4. The 1876 Act. Plimsoll's long campaign finally broke through. In 1876, Parliament passed the Merchant Shipping Act, and with it, a requirement that would change the appearance of every hull afloat. British merchant ships above a certain size now had to carry a loading mark. A circle, 12 inches across, crossed by a horizontal line, painted on each side of the hull. A ship could no longer be legally loaded past that line. The limit was no longer a matter of a ship owner's private conscience. It was a mark in plain sight that anyone could check. And in gratitude, the sailors gave that circle the name it still carries. The Plimsoll Line, a mark that simple was far too good to keep to one nation, and over the decades that followed it was written into international agreement, a shared rule of the sea. But we still have not answered the second question. Why are there so many lines? Part 5. Reading the ladder. Here at last is the reveal. Look once more at that ladder of letters beside the disc and understand what it truly is. It is a table, and it exists because of one fact almost none of us stop to consider. Water is not always the same. A ship floats higher in some water than in others. Salt water is denser than fresh, so a ship rides higher at sea than in a river, and higher still in cold water than in warm, which means the safe loading line is not one fixed level at all. The very same ship carrying the very same cargo will sit at different depths, depending on where and when she happens to be floating. So the ladder spells it out, rung by rung. TF is tropical fresh, the least dense water of all, where the ship may sit deepest, so its line sits highest. F is plain fresh. T is tropical seawater. S is summer, the standard line for temperate seas, the one that runs straight through the center of the circle itself. W is winter, marked a little lower, and lowest of all, WNA, winter, North Atlantic, the harshest water on the chart, where a ship must ride highest and carry the very least. Read from top to bottom, that ladder is really one sentence, written in paint. This deep is safe here, in this water, in this season, and no deeper. The review card. So let us gather what we have learned. A plain painted circle on a steel hull is not a badge, but a law you can read at a glance, and the bar through it marks the very edge of a ship's margin against the sea. It exists because one stubborn man refused to accept that drowned sailors were merely the ordinary price of doing business. Samuel Plimsoll took safe to load, for centuries a guess and a gamble, and turned it into a line that anyone at all could read. A kindness drawn just once and painted ever since onto the side of very nearly every ship at sea. Class dismissed.